Welcome to the Hassle of Hair. Thank you for listening, guys. You guys are someone special for joining in and clicking that link. Welcome to the interview with Pete. I mess up his last name so much. How about I just say Pete, the tattoo artist? But thank you for listening. And before we start this podcast, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit that like, and always be prepared for the next one and enjoy this episode with Pete, the tattoo artist, owner of Nasty Tattoos in Los Baños, California. Also, before we start, check out our sponsors, Rough Riders Barbecue and Rough Riders Barbecue on Instagram. Great barbecue, guys. Love their ribs. And also, La Gloria Panderia. They are done for the year with making pan, but be prepared for 2021. Go follow them on Instagram. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and enjoy this episode with Pete. We get into his story of becoming a professional tattoo artist. Thank you, guys. I love you. Always thank you for supporting the podcast. I'm having so much fun with this. I will see you soon.
Ready, Pete?
Hopefully you'll hear me soon. Peace.
So, welcome back, guys. Episode 65 of The Hassle of Hair. Today we have on tattoo artist, tattoo shop owner, Pete Gaona. He's been tattooing for 14 years now, and he's a local tattoo shop owner in Los Baños, California at Nasty Tattoos. How's it going, Pete?
I'm good. It is Gaona, but they always got it wrong. It's so good. They always got it wrong. So you should always heard those, those guards bring me my mail. It was Gaona. So it's all good. I mean, you got it pretty close.
So at the Hassle of Hair, we have people on that are very inspirational and that basically went in on their passions. And your passion is tattooing. How long have you been tattooing for?
Tattooing, I've been tattooing since I was really young. You know, it's hard to say what was really tattooing and what was scratching, what was picking up a needle and just scratching and carving that ink in there to what was really professionally applying the tattoo. But I would say that, either way, I've been doing it since I was about 14 years old. I'm 38 years old now.
38 years old? Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in a small town up in Northern California, Susanville, California. It's above Sacramento there, and in between Chico and Reno. Raised by my mother there up in Susanville, California.
And before I pressed record, we were talking about how your dad was a tattoo artist. I didn't know that you're basically a family of artists. Would you say?
Yeah, I do believe it was hereditary for us. My father was a tattoo artist. My sisters were always good artists. We always took a lot of the art contests and stuff like that as growing up in school and stuff. I actually got published in a book, run up and won a scholarship there. Of course,
In
I
high
didn't
school?
go up to it and take advantage of it. I had other plans, I guess, at the time. But
Was that in high school?
that was in when kids would go to high school. I was,
I know, right?
I was a troubled youth, and I was in the California Youth Authority at the time, and but it definitely played a big part to my career. Doing a little bit of time and being a troubled youth there, I had to get too much on a negative subject there, but I have done 10 years of my life as a juvenile, and not as a juvenile. I did about 4 there as a juvenile, and about another 6 as an adult there when I was in my younger 20s there.
But what started the drawing? Did you just right out the gate? Just you're always constantly drawing, and it was a talent that you had right away, or was it before the troubled youth, all that stuff when you were growing up?
I always used to draw all over my schoolwork and not do hardly any of it. I had straight as a child there. I if you looked at a lot of my report cards, they were straight D's and F's.
Yeah.
I used to draw all over my schoolwork. I remember getting even kicked out and finally having to go to a continuation school because I just stuck with the drawing. I always loved drawing. I used to draw. I used to constantly get in trouble for drawing while the teachers were talking in class. That literally the teacher. It was common that the teachers looked over at me and I had my head down and I was drawing and they were taking my drawings and I was like, "Dang, I've been working on that one for a couple days." You know,
Yeah.
so I've always been really into drawing since a young kid. I always remember drawing. Mom used to carry pens there in her purse and stuff like that. And shouts out to mom there for always raising me and taking care of me there. Still biggest fan there.
Did
Um,
she support you a lot in your drawing?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. She definitely always supported me. Bought me a little airbrush there as a kid there, and she always supported me artistically. You know, airbrush is one of my hobbies, and not my profession. We'll say. You know.
Yeah. What other when sorry, when did you officially tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna be an artist? Do you remember that at all?
Um, I think I don't actually remember it. I think it came so young and it was programmed in me so young that I don't know if I really did say that. I mean, I really started heavily picking up. I remember pricking my friends, uh, um, in school and stuff like that. I remember doing a tattoo when I was about in eighth grade. There, I want to say, or seventh. There in class, I did a 415 on a guy's finger and literally just pen pricked him
Wait, you said in class?
in class. While class was
Yeah.
going, I actually did a tattoo on a guy there. It was a little 415 inside his fingers. We were both in a continuation class at that time.
Wait, how do you use a regular pen to tattoo?
And this wasn't, this was just a neat, actually, believe it or not, this was a syringe needle. And as a kid, when I came across, little hypodermic needles, they actually made good little tattoos. They holded the ink in and they were
Yeah.
very sharp, so it was actually like a hypodermic needle that I tattooed this guy. I tied it to like a toothbrush, or like melted it to a toothbrush, so I actually had a little handle on it. And I remember I tattooed that guy with, yeah, just a needle and thread like that. It was a little 415, so it wasn't electrical. It was, we'll say, that is a manually ran system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy,
You
dude.
know,
And uh do you still talk to him at all?
no, I haven't. I haven't seen that guy in
I
years.
wonder if he
One
still
of the
has the
kids.
415 on his
Yeah.
on his finger.
I remember though. It's still. You could see the ink in there, and it was definitely a tattoo. I mean, I was tattooing already before that, but like I said, it's kind of hard to say what was real tattooing and what was just kind of carving it in there. When I really started putting a machine in my hand, I was about 15 years old already. I was in the California Youth Authority there. Like I said, I was a troubled youth and had to do some time. And while you're also incarcerated, you got three hots and a cot, so you got nothing else to do but to improve your art skills. You
Yeah.
know, so that also contributed a lot to my career. I still highly doubt that I'd be this good if I didn't do as much time as I did. I mean, once in a great while I hear a guy say, "I'm so smart, I ain't never been locked up," and I mean and that's coming from
Yeah.
a guy who I mean, either way, if you ain't been locked up, that's a good thing, and
But
that's not a way I think that you should go learn by all means. But we'll say I turned at least a little something positive out of something negative
But
at the
it's
time.
you did, because when I think about successful people and people going after their passion, they literally spend all day on it. And you were given this chance. I mean, I know why you. I mean, I don't know why you went there, but it wasn't a good thing. But you being there was a good thing because you got to specialize in your craft. You got to do your craft every
Yeah,
day.
definitely. Like I said, it was still at least utilizing my time and being doing something at least productive. While I mean, tattooing on other inmates in there, the guards probably didn't feel it was positive, but it was still at least doing something productive with my time that at least added up to where I am now. So that did contribute into my art just getting better. Definitely, I drew all day, really.
Yeah, that's what you did to pass the time.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely.
You said your dad was a tattoo artist. Did he teach you at all?
Uh, um, did my dad teach me it? Oh, my dad also was also locked up a lot. So,
Yeah.
uh, um, I was real young when he started getting locked. Though he inspired me a lot, I'm not going to give him so much credit to say he taught me a lot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We were hit and miss, always catching each other. When I remember finally got out, I was already incarcerated, and he died. He passed away there when I was 17. So he died also while I was real young. And like I said, he was always kind of in and out of prison all my life there.
It's crazy because like my mom passed away when I was 15, and like it drove me to go after everything. Like because she passed away, it drove me like a crazy feeling of I got to do good in my life because I went through this hardship, right? And
Yeah,
I feel like we're in common there too.
yeah.
But so you were locked up, you got out. What you said you were 17 when you got out?
No, I was 17 when my father passed. I was actually
Yeah.
18 when I got out and went to prison actually at 19. So from up into till my early 20s, so I was about 25 there really was I just kind of a troubled youth. Got in a little bit of an institutionalized zone there, and I'm just happy I broke free of it.
Yeah.
There was a time where it was nothing for me to go back.
But
Now, if I went to jail, oh, it'd be just miserable. I'm
you
just
were
too used
drawing
to.
constantly, right?
Yeah, I was drawing constantly in there.
Who's
Yeah.
who's teaching you?
You teach yourself really
That's so
at those
crazy.
times. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't been taught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really, I fed off a lot of other artists, especially in my Vegas chapter in my life there, where I was working alongside a lot of artists, a lot of award-winning artists. Uh, uh, um, one of somebody who really taught me some of the most important things in the game is one of my fellow artists that I actually hired as an apprentice, and still taught me a lot of valuable stuff. Oh, Alejandro Lozano, award-winning artist. He's down there at Planet Hollywood
Yeah.
in Las Vegas, probably the busiest shop this side west of the Mississippi. You know what I mean?
But when you were uh, locked up, incarcerated, and you were drawing constantly, no one was teaching you at the time, right?
No,
Until you got out.
I always, as a young kid, used to, get inspired by the lowrider art magazines
Yeah.
and
The little
the
dude
Teen
with the face,
Angels,
right?
and that's also the style I kind of started off with. You know what I mean? Was that West Coast Chicano
Yeah.
style? uh, um, and just when I used to see those lowrider art magazines and all those little cholos with the big old baggy pants and the big old Cortezes, and the broads with all that big hair and the big eyes and
Small
stuff.
bikinis.
That inspired me a lot. You know what I mean? In the car and the lowrider cars, that definitely inspired me a lot, and it just got me to picking up a pencil and a pen there, and just always trying to draw what I saw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
And the lowrider magazines, they had a spot for art, right? Didn't they?
yeah, they always,
Yeah.
then they came out with actually a lowrider art magazine, and that was just a whole bunch of just drawings sent in from all over the United States. So you saw a lot of California in there. Now it's funny. We were just talking about this the other day that those Japanese, they love that Chicano style, and they kind of mimicking it over there now. They're kind of doing what we
Yeah.
were doing in the '90s.
They got
Over there now.
they got girls with the really thin
Eyebrows, and just
eyebrows.
like the
They're wearing the
baggy
baggy
pants and like
dickies.
the foofed
Yeah.
up hair, and just
It's a whole
that those
trend over
Japanese
there.
are definitely loving the Hispanic style. That you could see a picture of some Japanese now out there in modern day, and they look like a bunch of Mexicans from California from the '90s. Yeah,
Yeah.
really,
It's
yeah.
it's it's crazy. Even because when you were growing up, that style, it was more of you saw someone dressed like that, you were kind of like, whoa, it wasn't looked down upon. It was just okay. They're how would you say? It was more of a cholo style, right?
Yeah,
So
I dressed
now,
like that. I used to wear Chuck Taylors and khakis.
yeah.
And,
Well,
you know,
now Cortezes are. I don't know if you know, but Cortezes are like big in fashion right now. They
Yeah, they're
have
kind of coming back, but you see them
everybody's
not
wearing
trying
them.
kind of worn like they used to be now. It's like now you
Yeah.
can see a man in like skinny man jeans with Cortezes on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's such a trip how that southern style or northern style of cholo, I guess gear. Now it's being worn by everybody,
yeah,
and it used to be frowned upon back then. And it's just
yeah,
like okay, that like it's just kind of cool. Now they're selling Cortezes for like $150.
yeah.
How much were a pair of Cortezes back then?
They were like $40 or something. Yeah, you know what I mean? So
It's
wow, I didn't know that they inflated so much
no,
like that. It's
they are
crazy.
they actually have like special edition ones now.
Wow.
It's all it's everything's social media based right now, so it gets all trendy.
Yeah.
So, but no, once you got out, were you destined? Did you tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna be a tattoo artist?
Yes, definitely. You know, when I got out, I relocated to Central California there. Uh, um, and I remember moving to Wasco, and I remember staying also in Tulare County a lot. And
Where's Wasco? Wasco.
Wasco's right there in Kern County, a little south of Tulare County there, south of us. It's still Central California, right
Yeah.
next to Bakersfield. And that was actually the first tattoo shop that I worked in was in Bakersfield, California, Old Venice Beach, right there on Chester Avenue.
Yeah, and so you never lived in a big city?
Yes, yes, I lived in big cities. I mean,
Yeah.
the biggest city I lived in constantly was Las Vegas. I mean, I spent eight
Oh yeah,
years
you
of
got
my
there
life
later in
in
life.
Las
You got to
Vegas.
Las Vegas, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you got out and you're in Wasco and your different towns, um, what was your first tattoo shop that you stepped in and to be an apprentice?
That was I you know I didn't do the apprentice thing so much. That shop already had me doing smaller tattoo work there once I got there, and this was in Bakersfield, California. It was called Venice Beach Tattoo. Not that I didn't still learn a lot, but I was one of those guys that was I was lucky, but I also want to say it was a curse that I didn't do an apprenticeship. So it was I was not accepting an apprenticeship holding me back, and I've had plenty of apprentices. I got three apprentices now,
Yeah.
and and uh, uh, um, and I tell them that I was stubborn to do an apprenticeship, and that's also kind of what held in me back because I didn't get in the shop until I was 25, and that was like I said. In Bakersfield, California. And then I went out to Tulare, California, where I had a good buddy, one of my first business mentors there. And even though we talk about me not kind of giving so much credit to a tattoo shop mentor, I did have business mentors, and my first business mentor. One out of two of them was David Ramirez out of Tulare, California. Helped me build my own shop out there, and went in on it. He was my partner there, and I owned it Empire Tattoo there in Tulare,
You owned
California.
Empire Tattoo Shop?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I
nice.
co-owned it
Yeah.
really with my partner David Ramirez at the time, and this was in 2007. There, the economy was tough. We still got by. I mean, but that man, right then you had that real bad depression as
The
it is.
2008 drop,
Yeah,
right?
around that time it was tough. It was definitely tougher times than it is now, even with this damn Corona.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
And going back to the apprenticeship and how you said you were stubborn, or you said that you didn't get into it, and people don't. I don't think people know that being an apprentice, because I see the apprentice over here, and then I seen how Nashi the tattoo artist grew from apprentice to half artist, right?
yeah,
It's you have to humble yourself, right?
yeah,
You have to go
definitely.
through the grind of basically,
Somebody even bossing you around a little bit
yeah.
there and just submitting yourself to them, and that's where I was stubborn at. You know what I mean? I think mixed with the fact that I did do good art,
Yeah.
and a lot of my, your friends kind of even pump up your head. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're better than the shop
Yeah.
already. You don't need an apprentice. And you start telling yourself, I don't. I
Yeah.
don't. And I used to take my portfolio into plenty of shops. Man, before I got my foot in the door, I took my portfolio into 100 tattoo shops. And they used to tell me stuff like, you make a good apprentice, though. I see you got talent. And my attitude was, oh, no. I'm ready to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that holded me back. Please believe that holded me back. What did I underestimate the tattoo industry and what there was to learn? Definitely. That's why these apprentices getting in there young, humbling themselves and learning from a more experienced tattoo artist, feeding off of other tattoo artists, are definitely doing their self better than me being stubborn like that. I just totally underestimated the industry and totally didn't know how much there was to learn. I really thought I was going to just be a natural. Don't you know what I mean? It was just even a lot
Yeah.
of people looking at my art say, "Oh yeah, I'll let you tattoo on me. You're going to pick it right up." And there is a lot to learn in the industry,
But
definitely.
did you, because you look back on that and wish that you would have done an apprenticeship? Do you think you're a better teacher now because of that? Because you
Yeah,
know what it
definitely,
takes. Yeah. Because
definitely.
I see how far Nashi's got in less than a year. She's been tattooing me for I think a year now,
Yeah,
and
now she's is my more seasoned apprentice. She's already starting. She's half artist. She's like I said, she's not catching so much of the color portrait or something like that, which is more later stages of the tattooing. But now she does plenty of people coming through that door now on names and stuff. More simplistic art rather than, like I said, something so crazy. I mean, she just did one on your arm
yeah,
that
yeah,
looks really good. So she's getting better. She's dipping into the color now. So now she's already in that realm that she's half artist, kind of half student. I mean, because I do got some other fresher students that don't catch nobody through that door. So now she's more already making that transition into graduating into an artist. Really, she's on her last days as an apprentice, and for what she knows at her age, because she's humbled herself, and I'm sharing my secrets with her now. Uh, um, she's going to be better than me when she gets my age. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Really, because she's just like I said, she's humbled herself. When you come in and you humble yourself on an apprenticeship, they do. Through time, we most of all us as artists, we feed off each other. I mean, even my new artist Ricardo there, he's I know he's learned a thing or two just because we all feed off each other. And an artist stuck at home, they're not getting that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're not feeding off. I constantly run into tattoo artists says, "You ain't telling me nothing. I've been tattooing 30 years or something
Yeah.
like that." And you look over at their tattoo work, and you're like, "Oh well, damn, you don't look like it." And I'm not trying to put them down, but I'm just saying that though I do know good tattoo artists that tattoo at home, I don't know one that's amazing that probably hasn't worked at a shop at one time or
Yeah.
another, because in the shop environment we do feed off each other, and tattooing is like a whole bunch of little secrets come together to make you that much more better. You know what I mean?
And
So
it's crazy because I walk in here and it's a different feel in here. It's a creative feel. You walk in here, it's just like I can't explain it. I go to the gym. That's where you work out and you're
uh,
constantly learning how to fight and stuff, and that's a different feel. But I walk in here, you could feel the creativity. It's just
heck yeah.
I don't know if it's just the way you guys present yourself or that you guys are just so laid back, but all of you are creative, and it's funny because you wouldn't even walking in here. You guys are just like a family. There you go. It's like a family environment.
Yeah.
And a lot of in fighting, it's the same thing, Pete. How you talk about that, people are like, "Oh, I don't need to learn from you, or I don't need to take your
Yeah.
advice." And fighting's the same thing. People are stubborn. They don't want to work with certain people, or they don't want to spar with certain people. It's the same thing. People are stubborn,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. People, as well as in my career of teaching, there's plenty of folks I've opened up to and taught to, and that just try to act like they already knew it, or just, and they didn't. Have you ever taught somebody like, and they're like, oh, I know,
Yeah.
and then and just kind of act like that maybe you didn't teach them one day. So there's also, when it comes to mentoring people, you got to know who to mentor. You got to pick them right. There's plenty of people that I taught really good stuff to that that aren't even grateful for it. But there's plenty of that are too. You know what I mean? So I guess that's just the way it goes. That some people also try to get out of giving you your credit that you mentored them, or some people say, might give credit to the first guy who got them in the tattoo trade,
Yeah.
and he didn't teach them too much anything. It's like the credit really needs to go to the guy who taught you the biggest secrets to tattooing. And what
Yeah.
are the biggest secrets to tattooing? Really get that color in packed, get that color in nice and dark, get it in nice and solid, get it to heal smooth. And
I was
so,
watching a tattoo video yesterday on YouTube, and the guy was saying um, that you can't make. It's not really about filling it in with black, it's not. It's always going to be spaced out with black. You have to make it smooth enough where it looks like it's filled in. You can never fill it in black the whole entire way. Is that true? Is that right?
um, yeah, I don't know what his point he was trying to make, but
He was fixing a tattoo. He was covering up something, and he was saying I don't know anything about tattooing, but he was saying when you cover up a tattoo, you're not going to fill it up all the way. You have to make it look like it's filled up all the way to cover something.
to cover something, my biggest
Because in my
factor.
head, Pete, sorry, if in my head I'm thinking when you cover something, you just 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 fill it in as much as you can. There's a technique to it, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a plenty of techniques to tattooing. You were just not grabbing that needle and just setting it on skin.
Yeah.
But when it comes to cover ups, as we get into the cover up subject, white is probably the biggest and bestest tool in a cover up. And what do I mean is, yeah, you're not going to really cover a tattoo with white, but as you put like this new tattoo over the old tattoo, and this old tattoo kind of shines through certain spots of the tattoo, white actually gets in there, cuts at the old tattoo, and flows with the new tattoo. So my biggest tool is white. It was like if white wasn't out there, uh, um, and just cutting away at darker tattoos in certain spots, the cover-ups wouldn't look as good as they do. So I'm really thankful for white, that eternal white, when it comes to doing cover-ups for sure.
What's the craziest tattoo you covered up?
The craziest tattoo I covered up. You cover up a lot of names, really.
Yeah.
People are just constantly getting their lovers' names on them for the time being,
Yeah.
and it's just, man. What's funny is I covered up a girl's foot last night, and I swear she came and got that name probably about 3 weeks ago, and so I actually did the name the first time, and now I'm covering it up. I must be out of the relationship now. Last night,
Yeah. So you were at Empire Tattoo. It was called Empire, right? Empire Tattoos. And after what ended up happening with Empire Tattoos in Bakerfield?
Well, no, I first was in Venice Beach in Bakersfield,
Yeah.
and that was somebody else's shop, and that was all ran by Paul down there in Bakersfield. And then I ended up leaving that shop about 5 months after about being there, and I went up to Tulare, California, and opened my own shop, which was called Empire Tattoo up in Tulare, California. And
Oh,
this was
Tulare. Yeah.
it's about 2007, 2008. We had it open for a solid year there. We stood there in a year contract with the building, and I really just stayed there for a year. It was a good year. It was but after that, we ended up closing the door, and I ended up going out to Vegas. And it was right. The
That's a
year
big
was
move, right?
good, but as I got in there into the Christmas holiday area, business extremely slows in the tattoo
Yeah.
industry. And why is that? Well, a tattoo's something that you might buy your girlfriend or your best friend, but you ain't gonna be handing them out like candy around Christmas time
Yeah.
for gifts. And people just gotta buy gifts for a lot of other people. So the tattoo industry around those months suffered, and you gotta figure around that time, it was even worse. Like I said, the economy just wasn't really doing good. So we
Yeah.
closed the door probably around the end of the year there. And I remember I bought a pound of weed. This was back when you had that old this is when you had that old seedy stuff. You get a pound for like $400, and I took a break off of working, and I went and sat in my mom's garage for about a good month there and just smoked. We didn't do too much of
Yeah.
nothing, and then I just threw my backpack. I had about $140 left in my name, and I threw my backpack with my equipment and my portfolio on my shoulders, and just rode a Greyhound out to Las Vegas, Nevada. I swear I didn't know nobody in Las Vegas, Nevada at all.
What like how do you decide that?
Um,
Like how do you say I'm gonna just go to Vegas and did
You
you?
know, I got off parole, so I got done kind of being locked up and at least having a shackle on my leg. And I was just in the mood for some adventure. I was in the mood for some. I was probably about 27 years old or something at the time, I want to say there. And I was just in the mood for adventure. I think I was even a little younger, possibly 26 already there.
Yeah.
And I was just in the mood for some adventure. And and I don't know, Vegas sounded inspiring for me.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I know plenty of people that do that. You know what I mean? That are in
Yeah.
Vegas, that have done that, and but I don't know what brings you up to it and why I think I just liked it, how fast paced Vegas sounded to me. I was like, you know what? Everybody's traveling to Vegas. That's the place to go. I've been to Reno many a times, and I always loved all the beautiful lights and stuff out there, though it was cold. And I just said, hell, and I went to Vegas for the first time there,
Yeah.
literally with a backpack on my shoulders.
So
I
the
got a
first
job. What's crazy is I got off the bus at about
that's what I
two
was
in the
gonna say.
afternoon. I walked about 4 blocks from Las Vegas Greyhound to the oldest tattoo shop in the world. I mean, not all in the world. The oldest tattoo shop this side west of the Mississippi till it was closed down in 2014. It was opened by Doc Dog in 1977. It was called Las Vegas Tattoo Company. It was the original Las Vegas tattoo shop. Now, Las Vegas got 200 something tattoo shops. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous how much artists are even registered out there. Last I checked with the health department,
So you get off of the Greyhound and the first thing you do is go to that shop or
I go to that shop with my backpack. Literally, I walk with my backpack and my equipment and my portfolio, and I walk to that shop. And I went in there and didn't just tell him, "Oh, can I have a job?" And I'm looking for a job. It's just, I noticed that sometimes you got artists in these tattoo shops when you walk in there, and you say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. I got art," and some of them could get a little negative with you. They're like, "Oh, well, the owner's not in right now. I'll take your number. I'll give it to him later." Who knows if they even give
yeah.
it to the guy? What they're really thinking is this guy's here to try to take my job or something, or trying to get in on the crowd. And so
Yeah.
I like to go into a tattoo shop and first act like I'm a client and get them to give me their attention. And first, thinking they're going to sell me something. So I go into this tattoo shop and I really just start acting like I'm interested in a tattoo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Can I see your portfolio?" And you always got guys that when you go in a tattoo shop that kind of have an attitude. And, when guys do have an attitude like that, I sometimes say, "Oh, well, where's your portfolio?" And then I look at it, and if you ain't even really all that good, I might just skip through it real quick and be like,
Yeah.
your attitude don't even matter." But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I get I finally got to meet the owner there at Los. It wasn't even the real owner, because the real owner of this shop was the old man from Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
You could ask my wife. She's right in the next room. She's been in his house plenty of times.
That's such
Before
a
he
trip.
died, he just died from Parkinson's about a year ago there. But it just so happened this old tattoo shop I went to was right next to a place called Gold and Silver. It was just a pawn shop, just an ordinary pawn shop at the time. And it turns out that became later known as the Pawn Stars. We know them now as the Pawn Stars on the
Yeah.
History Channel. Chumley, the old man, Rick.
You actually, I think you tattooed. Was it Rick? Which one's the son?
No, I tattooed Rick's son,
Yeah, Rick's son.
at the other brother after Haas, and I also tattooed the black guy on the door, old Antoine there.
Yeah,
You know, what I mean,
I seen the pictures online.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I tattooed the family. You know what's crazy is Rick's got other brothers as well as Haas got other brothers, and they're not on the show. They just keep them looking like they're lonely childs. But there's just, I guess, a lot of envy and a lot of I guess that's also just showing the business, we'll say. But yeah, there's other brothers of them, and they're not on the show. And so, the oldest brother of the old man, the oldest son of the old man, which is Rick's older brother, his name's Joe Harrison,
Yeah.
was given the tattoo shop, and that became my second business mentor. There was the first old man, the first son of the old man, Joe Harrison.
Man, that's
And I got the job that when I walked there from the Greyhound at about 2, I got the job probably at about 4,
yeah,
and I already started that night. Now I went to Vegas, mind I tell you, with about $140.
yeah,
After paying my bus ticket, which was like $40, I probably had about $100 left. Literally, I walked from that tattoo shop and went and rented a room with that last $100 I had for the night.
yeah,
Uh, um, and after that, after I rented, no, this is what I did. Now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm sitting there thinking, what's crazy is I had that $100 in my pocket, and I didn't even go rent a room because I was already going to be on their late shift at 10 p.m. there, and I went and worked on the graveyard shift, and that graveyard shift in Vegas, I still caught money, and then I went and rented a room just right down the street from there, and then I ended up finally getting me a little 1-bedroom studio over in right behind the Stratosphere, the tallest casino in the world, and just stayed at that shop for about a good 8 years. I became the manager. Uh, um, Probably about a couple months after I started working there, and stood there for about a good 8 years. A lot of really, really good artists came through.
Does that sound crazy to you? Like that's a crazy story. You basically hopped on a Greyhound. All right, I'm gonna take as much money as I have. I'm gonna go to Las Vegas. You step out on the floor of Las Vegas. In the first 24 hours, you got a job.
Yeah, that was just right timing.
Yeah,
Thank you, Lord. There, that was just right timing. Everything just went smoothly there. Uh, um, that It definitely wasn't a dry run. I mean, when you do that, you are worried that I'm just going to go over there, run out of money, and I'm just going to have to come back or something.
yeah,
That I'm going to get stranded. It takes a good nerve to just throw that backpack on and just hop on a bus and go somewhere where you don't know nobody. And that's exactly what I did. Vegas, man, it was a hell of an adventure, from the strippers to the rich folks to all the weirdos out there.
yeah.
It was definitely a lot crazier scenery than compared to where I grew up. We'll say,
And did you
because I grew up in a town that's like 25,000.
yeah,
Literally, it's
basically
got
Los
like a wall.
Banos, right?
It's
Half of
I
Los.
like Los Banos. It kind of
Yeah,
feels like a Los Banos. Seville, California feels like a Los Banos. It's got like one of every fast food chain in a Walmart. That's about it.
yeah. And so you were at that shop, and how long did you say you were there for?
8 years total.
8 years total. And did you just want bigger things for yourself, your own shop, or what ended up happening?
I finally ended up, well, I stood at that shop and I loved it, that shop. But one day, Joe Harrison comes to me and he says they're going to tear this tattoo shop down. They're going to tear down old Las Vegas Tattoo Company.
Were you there during the Pawn Stars?
Yes, I was there. You
Okay.
know what? And we didn't even touch on that
Yeah.
compared to me knowing the Pawn Stars.
So
I
you
mean,
were there when they were
I was
filming?
there. I watched the transition from them go to people that don't even know their name to who they are now. That literally, when I was there, they were just an ordinary pawn shop, and they started doing these YouTube skits,
Yeah.
and they got all excited. I remember when we seen that HBO van out there in the parking lot. Literally shared the same parking lot. There's You can watch a lot of episodes of Pawn Stars, and in about every episode, you'll see my tattoo shop in the background right there across from the parking lot. So while they were filming people about to go into the pawn shop, and you got the pawn shop behind them, they were actually standing at my tattoo shop. I mean, you had the directors and all that right there, just shh. We're filming. I mean, literally, the guys out there talking crap,
Yeah.
smoking cigarettes and stuff like that. Literally, while there's somebody right there about to go into this, while they're filming a scene for the Pawn Stars.
Did that make you more money because right next door was a place that was super famous?
Oh, definitely.
Because people don't understand, like, during what year was that?
Definitely, that
2000.
that 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 literally. I stayed there all the way till 2014, and by the time about 2012 kicked in, there was people lining up around that building just to go into the pawn shop, thinking they were going to see Chumley or the old man or something, and they weren't. They were always advised to stay out of the pawn shop while people were in there. They always locked it once they got so famous, once it got so big. They always lock the pawn shop down to film. So people stand for hours around that building in line thinking they're going to go up in there and meet Chumley or the old man. But they're actually advised to stay out of there while it's open to the public. I mean, they halt progress. Dude's about
Yeah.
to buy a $5,000 watch. It's, oh, hold up, honey, the old man's here. Wait, no, I got to get a picture with the old man. You know what I mean? And so, people
Yeah.
stand. So it brought in a ridiculous flow of people. But
For
back
the
to
tattoo shop.
the
For
transition
Yeah.
of them. And I just wanted to say about how they started off with YouTube skits, literally just regular little YouTube videos of their reality show. HBO came out there in a van. They all got excited. Oh, HBO might pick us up, and HBO didn't pick them up. And at the time, you're thinking, yeah, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about or whatever. They're just throwing little YouTube skits.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the History Channel's out there in a van. HBO didn't pick them up. They still stuck on it. We're still doing their little YouTube skits. And then next thing you know, the History Channel uh, um, uh, uh, was out there in a van. And they're like, "Oh, the History Channel might pick us up," and sure enough, the History Channel picked him up, and it was like by about the second season, it just took off to where they were saying it was like the best show on cable, like number one show, like
Yeah, it
viewing.
was huge.
Yeah, it was
They were
huge.
people. They'd still when it's on, people are constantly. They could run it forever, and people are gonna watch it for
I
like.
mean, I doubt they are with like I know for sure that the show's canceled now
Yeah,
based off
but
of
they
the
had the
sound they got charged with
reruns.
some weird stuff. I
Yeah,
don't know, but the show is still huge. People are still
yeah.
online streaming all those reruns and stuff. So the show was really really huge.
That's a crazy life transition, because you went from California, right? It was California, and then you back to saying that you went all in and said, I'm gonna go travel to Vegas. You found this shop, and then the next stepping stone was this right next door. They got famous. So
Yeah,
that's a crazy life, man.
I
That's a
mean there was a time where they still didn't feel famous to me, and they were. It was like there was a time where I met my wife, and I was starting to travel back over here to Northern California, and we'd be up in our apartment, and there was a girl there, and she was like, "Oh yeah, he runs a tattoo shop for them," and she's like, "What?" My dad's watching that show right now. That's his favorite show, and so it was like it started to become a little surreal there when it first started kicking off there about just people just starting to say, "What, you ran into?" I mean, it boosted. We've had semi-famous people even travel here to this shop now, as well as to my Vegas shop. There was plenty of people that are in the music industry that were traveling over to my Vegas shop. Rappers like Big Oso and Big Tone
yeah.
AP9, and they would come over to my literally the word out here was, oh yeah, I know, I got a homeboy that he runs a tattoo shop for the Pawn Stars out there. Oh, what, man, I love the Pawn Stars. I'm gonna have to go out there and get him in there to get me to meet them. And
The
I used to take him next door and cut past the line and stuff like that, and so that would all make
so
him
it
feel
was
special.
just
So
this.
it built me up. That I
Yeah.
think that a little credit is due there. That people kind of started knowing my name even a little stronger, just based off the fact that I was running a tattoo shop for the Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
You
You
know?
were. I mean, you were just a because you can't get that far without being a great artist, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
it was just this timing of everything of you losing, not losing, but closing down the empire, and then you said, okay, I'm gonna take off, and then it was this timing of the Pawn Stars being there at the same time, and they blew up, and that's just that's a blessing, man. That's
Yeah,
freaking awesome. Because
yeah,
you would have
definitely.
made it no matter what. I mean, you're a talented artist, so it doesn't
Yeah,
really.
you stick with what it is you do, you'll get there. But it definitely was an adventure as well as a little career booster,
Yeah,
there for sure. You know,
that's freaking great. That's
yeah.
awesome. I didn't know that about you, Pete.
As well as many tattoo artists that came through there. I really got to pay a lot of credit to my Vegas chapter in my life to me learning. I just worked with a lot of artists that are now just owning their own shops, as well as award winners, as well as a lot of award winners that were even under me. Uh, um, that I hired as apprentice at Las Vegas Tattoo Company. I wouldn't take back that chapter in my life for nothing. There's some times where it's just a little slow here. I mean, it's
Yeah,
really, really fast paced here for Los Banos. Our shop is
yeah.
really busy.
Well,
We turn down a half dozen tattoos a day, but compared to Vegas, I mean, it was 2 stories. It was 24 hours. It was a really fast paced shop on the Vegas Strip,
this when
because
it's that.
Vegas is big,
Yeah,
but the Vegas Strip is super
yeah.
big.
When
You
it's
know,
that fast, when it's that many people coming in, does it can kind of get redundant when it comes to art, like doing tattoos? Like, does it get? I would guess it was just boring. I guess because you're constantly doing tattoos. Did you really spend the time to really love what you were doing, or was it constantly
yeah,
like, oh,
I
I want
always tell
butterflies on my
I always
arm, or
tell my workers to put your heart in it.
yeah,
I often use the phrase of, and I don't probably use it as, I'm going to clean up the version of this saying rather than as vulgar as I usually say it. But I say, you don't run down there and bang one of them. You walk down there and make love to all of them. And what that means is put your heart into it.
yeah,
You know, when you make love to them, they come back. When you just bang them, they don't. You know what I mean? And so that's why I often say that with even just pricing out, charge good value.
yeah,
And good value don't mean a cheap job, but it also don't mean an overpriced job. You still gotta work for it, and you ain't gonna get rich off nobody and off of just a couple of tattoos. And you get some tattoo artists out there, they're just like, I just want $1,000 and do 2 tattoos a week. But it's like, a day I don't tattoo is a day I don't feel like myself. I'm super busy and I'm booked out now to a month in advance.
yeah.
But but even on days that I have rescheduled stuff like that, and I end up doing nothing, there's quite often times where I just tell one of my coworkers or something, man, sit down, let's do you a free tattoo. It's just
Yeah,
day I don't tattoo is the day I don't feel like myself, as well as if you a tattoo artist that ain't constantly tattooing isn't getting better.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So I just like, as well as people to work for me, people that know they're tattoo artists and just they want a tattoo. You know what I mean? Because you get a lot of people too that a lot of tattoo artists that start to enter this little prima donna mode, and I got a $300 minimum, and just
yeah,
and they're just not connecting with the people.
yeah,
When somebody comes into any business, they want to feel that you're looking at them in the eye, you're putting thought into what they're talking about, you're
yeah,
listening to them. Uh, um, I mean, I've worked with even prima donnas before in my Vegas chapter where, somebody comes in and the tattoo artist is there looking at his phone and they're like, yeah, how much would this little rose be about this size? And he's like, 600.
And not, yeah.
And they're like, damn, you could, I got 250. And he's like, could you do it for that? And he's like, nope. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
that people want to connect with you. And, a tattoo artist that says, yeah, I think that'll look good right there on your shoulder. Maybe you should add this, or maybe not. But I think this color will, highlight your skin tone or something. You know what I mean? So, uh, uh, um, put thought into the tattoo, and as well as, just connect with the people, because I think it's fair to say that, in any business that you're going to go get some service done in, if you're just not feeling a good attitude off the person, it's,
Yeah.
I'll go pay some more for somebody else's shot. I ain't
Yeah.
gonna mess with you. You know
That's
what I
just
mean?
business 101. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
everything.
That that you
Don't be
got to
an
connect with
asshole.
them.
you know. No. So you're at the shop in Vegas, and then so what? When did you end up leaving? After the 8 years, where'd you went back to California?
Well, Joe Harrison in 2014 there told me that that they are going to be closing, doing away with the tattoo shop, and he gave me a heads up there, and uh, uh, um, so it gave me time to start prepping this shop. And so I started prepping this shop at that time already. What's funny is for probably about my last 3 years in Vegas, I actually didn't live in Vegas, but I lived up in Northern California. I came up to Los Banos and lived in Northern California. So I would actually stay here for 3 days and be with my family, and then I would go back to Vegas and I would work for 4 constant days. And what was cool about that shop over
Man,
there
that's
is
a
I got
crazy
free room
skit.
and
Yeah.
board and all that because I had my own apartment on top of the shop over there that they let me stay in, free rent and all
Yeah.
that. So that was really cool. So
Did the travel just get to you?
the
Constant.
travel did get to me. If I did drive, I would be too tired, so I started taking the bus.
Yeah.
What was cool about the bus is that I could go find a comfy spot in the back and I could actually take a nap and get to Vegas and be ready to tattoo. Uh, um, if I drove all the way over there, it took a real beating out of me that I'd have to get over there and like sleep a whole nother day just to bounce back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that 8 hour drive to Vegas did used to beat me up. That there was a time where I eventually owned cars and had a car over there and a car over here and would still ride the bus in between. Really, it was
Yeah.
just to sleep, as well as it was like I would buy like this Vegas like promotional deal that it was like $75 round trip. That means I was paying only like $35 to get from Los Banos to Vegas one way. It's like, man, you can't beat that. I mean, you couldn't ride a taxi to Fresno right now for that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They'd probably charge you more like 50.
Yeah.
So man, you probably get to Merced or something with that with a taxi.
You don't
So
you don't
$35
stop.
to get from Los
Yeah.
Banos to Vegas. I want to say too, I messed around and cheated and told them I was a student or something. So I got like a Vegas promotional deal and like
Yeah.
a student promotional
How much
deal.
is flying?
Flying's like 250 one way.
Okay.
And,
That's
just driving down there in your car is like 120 in gas,
yeah.
as well as it takes a beating out of you. Like I said, just driving solid for 8 hours, man, you get over there tired. Driving, man, it's just like some hypnosis or something. It's like I could be fully resting and be riding on that freeway right now and just start dozing. Once that hypnosis
Yeah.
kicks in, you know what I mean? So so yeah, there was a time
Go-
where I lived here, and I actually worked in Vegas 4 days a week. Traveled down there for just my those 4 days to work. Came back up here for my 3 days to be with my family, and I started making my shop up here. So there was probably a good 6 months, I say, or so, where I actually worked at both. Where 3 days a week I worked in Los Banos tattooing, and then I had other tattoo artists already working here for me, and they would hold down the shop while I was over in Vegas tattooing, because the Vegas Strip too is really good money
Yeah.
tattooing. Right there on Vegas, especially with those tourists and stuff.
When did you decide to just focus on nasty tattoos?
It was probably about the winter there of I want to say 2014 or maybe a little after there. I think it was 2015 already there that they did finally put in the motion to demolish Las Vegas Tattoo Company out there,
Yeah.
and then I finally came over here permanently.
And because Joe Harris, you said,
Joe
because Joe
Harrison,
Harris gave you the heads up, you were able to open up your shop and
transition. It
transition.
was a good
That's freaking
transition.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him giving me that heads up, it was a really good transition. Uh, um, had I had I just quit out there with nothing, still had to come over here, prep the building, get it inspected by these city officials as well as this health department. That would have put me out of work for a couple good months. So that they gave me the heads up, and I already made this place where I still had a job over there, and that this was kind of a weekend project. That even my building owner here in town, Tom Calgin, there gave me like a free month to just prep the building. That was super cool of him. And I didn't even have to pay rent there that first month there to come, because when it comes to opening up a tattoo shop, you do have to make a lot of changes, we'll say, to your building. Well, we at least had to make a lot of changes to this building. I'm sure
Yeah.
if you go to a place that used to be a restaurant or something like that, you might not have to make so many changes, but you got to have certain sinks and just every station has to have just leather furniture in it that's wipeable. They don't want no doors or barriers to the practitioner sink, so there was a lot of modifications we had to
Yeah.
make.
And it's crazy because I don't think people know that in Los Baños, there's been so many tattoo shops that come over here or open up, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you're the
We're
only
here
one to
now.
stay open.
Yeah, definitely. We're here now, going on 7 years, and there's been the only one out of 11 to survive at this present day time. We are the only tattoo shop here in Los Baños. But yeah, you had about 11 if I really count them all. You had Horror Inc. there. You had Queen's
Yeah,
Gold, Day of the Dead, Lewis Tattoo Craze. You had what else? Alone Rose, Switchblade.
I remember Switchblade.
Fun Zone was doing it there for a little bit. So yeah, there was plenty of
Fun
tattoo
Zones
shops.
was a smoke shop, wasn't it? And then it had the
Yeah, it
tattoo.
had a little tattoo booth or
Yeah,
something there. They dropped out of the industry for a minute there. They were piercing, but I don't even think they're doing that anymore.
yeah. And it's like, what? Why do you think you've stayed open? What's what's the secret? Like, what are you doing better than? I'm not trying to put those other people down, but what are you doing better than the other 11 shops?
There is some secrets to tattooing, as you talk about secrets. Of course, I ain't gonna get into it. It wouldn't be a secret
Yeah,
if I told you that. But there is definitely secrets to getting your color to not scab and to get it stay solid. And those are secrets that experienced tattoo artists put you on. You kind of don't stumble on it. And I really think those played a part to us not chunking people up and getting the work to heal nice and smooth, as well as line work. There is a couple little secrets to that, mixed with just good business ethics,
yeah,
programming at a certain time, mixed with good work, good value, bonding with the people, all of that. So there isn't really one reason or philosophy to why I stayed open. It's a mixture of bonding with the people, loving the people, loving your community, programming at a certain time. I mean, there's plenty of tattoo shops that get open and they don't want to open this day, or what I mean, for who knows what. They partied too hard the day before or something. Now they can't get in there and open, and you get people coming in and say, well, I'm tired of going over there. Every time I go over there, they're closed or something. I'm not even going to go over there no more. So, uh, um, mixed with mixed with really just the art. We've had a lot of good artists come through here, uh, um, and as well as just you'll be surprised at how many famous people have came over here from the Bay Area. I mean, last year I tattooed Jay Diggs.
Yeah.
Jay Diggs, now that's Mac Dre's right hand man. To me, that's bigger than Van Halen, like I was saying earlier, because to me, that's I've tattooed actually my favorite rap groups, and I've had my favorite. Me growing up as a kid, the Mob Figures and the Cutthroat Committee were my favorite rap groups, so that they've been to my shops, and have even
That's
gotten
yeah.
tattooed. To me, that's big. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
that's great. I mean, mixed with a lot of famous people have came through here, done meet and greets from Mac Mall, Davina, Big Tone, Bavgate, Filthy Rich. I mean, Filthy Rich is high in the charts now. I mean, if I probably asked Filthy Rich to come back and do a meet greet, he probably wouldn't. He's too big.
It's crazy
Probably
because
asked me for $6,000 or something now.
it's crazy because growing up, my buddy, I don't, my buddy Tito would always tell me he's like about Davina. I grew up in San Jose on Adrian Way in
Oh, then
Ocala.
you know who Davina is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Big Tone, Big O, her boyfriend or her
Big
husband,
Tone, yeah.
Big Tone, uh, they were like big. They're like in when I lived over there, my buddy Tito's the first one to show me, and they were just big name rappers on the underground kind
Hispanic
of.
music
Yeah,
in Northern California, they are probably top of the charts there.
the
Big Tone and Davina when it
during
comes to that
it was
Hispanic
MySpace, right?
culture.
It was during like when MySpace was going around,
Yeah.
and I just remember my buddy Tito had like posters. I don't know if it was posters or just magazines or something posted on his wall. So I
Yeah.
grew up with all that, just being around that, and it's crazy to hear that they were at your shop. Or did you tattoo them at all?
No, they just Davina and Big Tone just came through and did meet and greets. Big Tone used to even go to my Vegas shop there, just when he was passing through, and
He's like 6'5" or something like that, right?
yeah, he is a big boy.
Yeah,
He's not only got height for being Mexican there because we're built a little shorter. He's also a solid guy. A
yeah.
lot of muscle tonage there and stuff. And so him and Davina ain't together no more. They
Oh,
do have
okay.
children, but they're both very inspirational as well as big
Yeah.
in the Hispanic music industry. So
It's
but
sorry.
but we also had Jay Stalin here,
Yeah.
as well as Filthy Rich, and those guys are really big too, rap wise, just in the charts. I mean, they're huge.
Yeah.
I mean, when they were here, even it was just man, the youngsters just lined up around the building.
But how does it
Going,
feel as a tattoo artist that you had a pretty rough childhood, right? Not rough, but just I mean, you were incarcerated, and you're. It feels like your dream was to be a tattoo artist, and you went from that to having these people, these hip hop groups, come to your shop where you were listening to them beforehand, and then now they're at your shop. They're talking to you. They want tattoos from you. Like that's a successful person right there. You switched it, and you literally did it all yourself, Pete. Like
yeah,
I'm listening to your story. You haven't stopped hustling.
yeah.
You're just a hustler. Like
Yeah,
the
you do. You
grind.
got to you got to stay on that grind. For
Jesus.
sure. You got to be motivated. You got to be driven. You got to stick with what it is you do. There is times there where I did get frustrated and discouraged. I mean, there was times there, even with Nashi, with even Nashi, one time about a good year into her apprenticeship, just. I don't know if I'm learning and I don't know if I'm growing. And I just
Yeah,
had a good inspirational talk there. And I said, look, kid, you got to stick with what it is you do and you'll get there. That we've all been there and we've all gotten discouraged like that. Nico Hurtado is a big inspiration to me. He's the champ of the world when it comes to tattooing. If you look at all his trophies, as well as Bob Tyrell is a OG master tattoo artist in the game that real big inspirations to me. And I bet you anything that there was times where they were learning there. And as when you're first getting into the industry, you start to tell yourself, well, there's more other people in there that are gooder. And I don't know if tattooing, you got to just stick with what it is you do. You got to keep getting up that day and just doing it again, and you're just going to keep getting better. And like I always say, if you stick with what it is you'll do, you'll eventually get there.
that's freaking awesome. And I think what I got out of this, having a conversation with you, and what I've learned is basically two things. Don't stop going, right? Don't stop. Keep hustling no matter what, and you got to take chances.
Yeah, don't worry
Yeah,
about these haters getting you down or anything
yeah,
like that. Personally, if you ain't got, I always say, if you ain't got a few haters out there, you ain't doing something right. So, you know, keep doing what it is you do. I mean, I still have people as it is go on our online business pages and just give me a 1 star or something like that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Now, might I add that we got over probably 500 5 stars on Google Engines now.
yeah,
But once in a great while, you get a hater like that, and it's like, I, I,
yeah,
I I constantly always say though, when it comes to reviews and people giving you a bad review, if they haven't came here and got some personal business, then their review don't even matter. You
yeah.
know, because why? Because there's other broads that full with other tattoo artists that don't work here and stuff like that. So whatever their reason is to hate, you know what I mean? If you really ain't came here and got have a personal story or have a personal experience here, your review don't even matter.
Yeah,
You'd rather
I
just
love.
go on
I
there and give you a
actually
one
need to put
star.
a review out there because I
I
love
want to
coming
hear
here.
something like I'd take a review into effect if somebody gave me a 1 or 2 star and said, "Well, I went in there and they're an asshole and they didn't talk to me right and just I didn't like the art they drew." But if you just give me a 1 star and it's like, "Well, what did you ever come here?" And they're like, "No, I just wanted to give you a 1 star." It's like,
Yeah, there's
well, then your
people like
review
that.
don't even matter.
But
You
every
know?
time I come into the Nasty Tats, I have a good time. Like it's more of an experience than anything, and I think you're driving that. You're putting into all the artists here to make it an experience. Like Nashi, every time I'm here and she's giving me a tattoo, the stories and the 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 laughter that happens when I'm here. And Michelle's another character that she's fun to be around too,
Yeah.
and it's just everybody that's here it makes it a good experience. I've never had any bad experience here, and I don't want to take up much more of your time. And I just want to tell people that Nasty Tattoos is in Los Baños, and Pete, your story is amazing, man. Like I didn't know any of that before I decided to sit down with you. Nashi told me before that you had the Vegas story, and not really she didn't really go into it, but to hear that you just got up and just went to Vegas, stepped out there, and you came from what you came from, and now you own the shop. You're a successful tattoo artist. You own a shop, and you're still going in a town that doesn't really see a lot of tattoo artists survive out here, man.
Yeah.
Like this is
I mean, once in a great while too, I see on these groups, we still get the biggest recommendations, but once in a great while, you get on a lot of these like Facebook groups, and people say it's a good tattoo shop to go to, and I notice there's always a couple people on there that say that haven't even been here. Like I said, if you ain't been here, then your review don't even matter. But you get a couple people say, wherever you go, I wouldn't go to Los Banos and get it. And why are they saying that? Because maybe Los Banos is a small city that they don't think there's talented people out here. But it's like, you know, if you took all my Los Banos clients away from me and nobody in town came to me, I'd probably still survive based on the out of towners. So,
yeah,
regardless of people saying that one, I mean, there's still plenty of people. I love Los Banos. There's still plenty of people in Los Banos who come to get tattooed by us. But you'll be surprised how many people come from San Jose, Modesto, Merced, Dos Palos, Fresno. Uh, um, to get tattooed in this little tattoo shop right here. I always say this is the California crossroads. It's kind of about 45 minutes
that's
away from everything. I mean,
yeah,
really,
that's what we
real
said.
quick. I was when anybody say, "How far is it from?" I don't even think of their city. I just say
45
45
minutes.
minutes, and it might be more like an hour and 20 or something. But in general, it's about in that 45 minutes range. So regardless of people saying here in Los Banos, I want to go to Los Banos and get. I want to wherever you get tattooed. Don't get it here in town. Uh, there's plenty of people in other cities saying we're going to Los Banos to get tattooed.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
Los Baños is a growing city, man.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that really, if you look at bet you I could grab a stack of forms right now, in 1 week, our forms are like this thick. I mean, it's ridiculous how much people come in 1 week and get pierced and tattooed. But if I dug through that form now, I bet you anything, there's 20 folks minimum from out of town. So that goes to show you that our name's a little further, our web stretched out there, our hands stretched out there a little further than Los Banos. And like I said, while people are being negative to not locally support, there's plenty of people that are in other towns saying we're going off to Los Banos to get tatted. That's where it's at. We're going to go out there. You know what I mean? So I'm happy and thankful for that, for all the out of town support. I'm still definitely thank you for all the local support we get here.
Yeah, it's that's what I'm trying to do is bring light to all the people that are creative and really good at things, not just from San Jose or from out of town, right? That we have creative people in Los Baños, and
I see that in you, yeah.
yeah, you're one of them, and
That you're definitely shining the light on local business owners and stuff
yeah,
here, yeah.
and this is awesome, Pete. I can't wait to have you on next year to see how you're doing, and after we get rid of all this craziness going on,
Yeah.
whatever. But keep on doing what you're doing, and thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your story. And is there anything you want to shout out?
Um, a shout out to all my guys out in Vegas that are still doing it, man. David Ruiz over there with Beloved Clan Tattoo Shop. Armando Flores working over there. BJ Inks out there at Planet Hollywood now. Alejandro Lozano. Like I said, Alejandro Lozano, we fed off of each other. He was one of the guys that I hired as an apprentice that really showed me quite a few things. Ray Eversole up there in Oregon now, who's got his own tattoo shop. And shouts out to my mom, number one fan in my life there. And just for anybody who's getting in the industry, just stick it to what it is you're doing. You'll get there. And you know, you're always gonna have some. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't doing something right. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, Pete, and thank you guys for listening. And I love you guys. Peace out.